Hi everyone, and welcome to Tuesday's Tips at 2 with Kimberbell. My name is Lauri, and today we are going to talk all about fringe. And I'm going to talk about not only how to cut the fringe stitches, but how they stitch out and some preparation ideas as well. All right, but before we get started, I want to mention or remind you about our spring sale. It is on Thursday evening, 6:30 Mountain Standard Time. Please join us. You might want to get on about 6:15 and maybe get registered, because if you're not registered, you don't want to miss out on any of the sale items that are going to be going, because they're going to go really fast. All right, back to the fringe. I wanted to show you this Hoppy Easter Bench Pillow, and the reason I wanted to show you this pillow is because it does have fringing on the cute little chicks, and I love this. Besides, Easter's right around the corner, right? So who wouldn't want to make this beautiful bench pillow? And I'm going to show you the CD. This is the CD that goes with it. It's our Hoppy Easter Bench Pillow, and this is just great. It's all made in a 5x7 hoop and put together. I love this. Great idea on the hoop size. I think you're going to love that. The second one I wanted to show you is these cute little bench buddies. If you notice, they coordinate. Isn't that so adorable? I love that. And this one also has a little fringed chick, which is sitting on top of the eggs, which is so cute. Now, this CD is also available. It's our Bench Buddies, and it's our January, February, March, and April. So you get a great buy right here when you are able to have 4 different months, and there's 2 pillows per month or per season, if you will. So 2 for January, 2 February, 2 for March, and 2 for April. So this is a great project to have, as well as our Main Street Celebration pillow, which we have featured a few times recently, but this is the CD that you would pick up if you wanted to do that. Now, to start with today, I wanted to make sure that we talk about, first of all, a good start. So first we're going to talk about how we want to stabilize. We want to make sure we have a good stabilizer for our stitching, and I would recommend the medium cutaway. Not the light one. Heavy is great too, but the medium is my favorite one, the medium Kimberbell cutaway. The reason for that is when it starts stitching the stitches back and forth, they're pretty long stitches, and you don't want them to be pulling or tugging too much if you do a lightweight. The other thing is I want to share with you how the stitches are stitched out on the machine, so that when we start talking about clipping the stitches, you understand where you want to clip and where you don't want to clip. So if you'll follow me over to the whiteboard, I'm going to show you over there what the stitches look like. So here I am over at the whiteboard, and I wanted to draw a little bit about fringing. First of all, I'm going to show you an A. When I say A, I'm just referring to one fringe type. And then we're going to talk about a second fringe type. The reason I've labeled them A and B is because you're going to be able to see on my stitching which ones I'm talking about with A and which one I'm referring to when we say B. Okay? So A starts out, and it will stitch kind of like, and you'll see this is where the chick's hair is, and the corn silk stitches at very random stitching. All right, so this is the part that's going to fringe. Okay? And then there's either going to be a satin stitch that goes across here, or a little bit of a tack down line that's going to go across here. And it's going to tack down one end, only one end. So these are actually back behind, and when you release them, they come up and they're looped. It's so cute when it's all finished. Okay, so that's one. The other type, B, would be a satin stitch, which is exact. I can make that look more exact, right? It's an exact satin stitch, so it's a lot closer together, and it's a lot heavier stitch, all right, and it looks very even. Now, the satin stitch is then tacked down on one end again, and it's like really tight little tiny stitches here, okay? Now, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be clipping on the back side of these, you're going to be clipping the bobbin thread, which is right about there, and the bobbin thread there, which is about there. You're not going to trim any stitches that have to do right here and here. That's a no clip zone, if you will. All right, so I'm going to step back over to the work table, and we're going to show you how you find those stitches and different ideas and tips you can use for that. Hi, and we're back. So I appreciate your patience with that. It took me a minute. All right, so the one thing I do want to make sure that you try to make sure you do is if you're doing something that is just stitched on like the pillows, which I have here, I would recommend at least a good solid cutaway, medium to light, or excuse me, medium to heavy. I wouldn't go really on the light side when you're doing the fringe stitching. And here's why, because it has a tendency to pull because we're going to be trimming those stitches, and so we don't want them to pucker or anything. So it's really important to get a good stabilizer behind to start with. It's kind of like that foundation where it's got to have a good foundation to start with, okay? Now the second thing is I want to show you some more up close features. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to show you, this is the stitch out that I've made. That's a cute little chick, and this is the chick that has the eggshell on his head. And on this one, I'm going to turn it over, and you're going to be able to see on the back here, you can see that there's yellow satin stitches, right? These are where we're going to fringe. We're only fringing the wings on both sides. So it's hard for you to tell sometimes, but if you look at your instructions, you'll know that's where you're going to fringe. Well, what I like to do is we're going to mark on this. I'm going to do this so you can see it a little bit better here. We're going to mark, I mark exactly where the white bobbin stitches are with a water-soluble pen, or you can use a heat iron, doesn't matter. And as you can see, those are where I'm going to clip those stitches right there, okay? So I'm just marking where I see the white bobbin thread, and that's all, and that's the only place I'm going to trim. Now, if you remember right, we talked about you're not going to trim off the little tiny stitching that's holding that down. But if you see the white bobbin thread right there, there, and there, that is where we are going to clip. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I would do to clip that. I love, and of course I think I've mentioned this several times in different videos, I love the Kimberbell tools, and this is one of the tools. This is our tweezers. But if you remember right, the tweezers have a sharp edge that has been sharpened on them, so they work really good for unpicking basting stitches. So what I like to do, and I only pick a couple at a time, and I'm going to set this down flat so I can actually do this well. I only pick a couple of threads at a time, and then I just, if I get too many, it's like sawing something, you know. But you just simply go through and pick a couple at a time, and you can easily cut. The reason I like the these tweezers is it is very easy to get very precise and get the very stitches that you need to trim. Okay, it's not, you're not trying to dig under something that you can't get. So if your seam rippers have got a little bit of a fatter edge to it, you're going to love these tweezers because they get right under all of these threads. Okay, now I turn it over to the front, and on the front side what I'm going to do is which one I cut, there we go. All I do is I just run this across, and I love this. I just run it across, and I'll do it again for you so you can get a better view, but I just love that. I just get to scratch that and it works, okay? So I'm going to do this again and again, so you're going to be able to see this several different times, okay? So I'm going to actually do the next one, and this is so cute. Look at this chick. He's inside the cute little eggshell. Now, as you can see, I've already fringed this one side, but this one I used a different method, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to turn it over here to the back, and as you can see, this is stitch A. This is the one where it's up and down, and this is stitch B, which is the satin stitch. But can you see I already used a red bobbin thread, so it was really easy for me to see. So I didn't have to worry about trying to find it or mark it, but you can do it that way if you'd prefer not to change your bobbin thread. But if you want to change your bobbin thread, I changed it just during the whole yellow stitch, which has all the fringe stitching on it. And there again, I'm going to just grab a couple of, you can see the red, the pink or the red color, couple stitches at a time, and you just simply go through and be patient with yourself. Don't feel like you've got to get all the threads cut in one quick, swift motion, okay? Just a few at a time. And then you don't accidentally cut something you shouldn't cut. And if you notice, this one's in the hoop still, right? The other one I had pulled out of the hoop because I obviously stitched another one out, right? But if you do it while it's still in the hoop, it holds your fabric down in place a lot easier, I think. Okay, so that's B. Now I'm going to attempt to cut the A stitches. In the A, you want to trim the red. So you can see, I'm going to show you a little closer over here. It's probably easier to see. Can you see those red stitches that I'm lifting up? Those are the stitches we want to trim. And I'm not going to trim them all at once, like we said. Few at a time, make sure I get the right stitches cut. And as you can see, it's a little closer down to the top of his head, and it's because the hair is going to fringe and stick out from the top. Now I'm going to turn this back over, and I'm going to show you that same technique of you're just lifting this with, I only did this one side. Look how cute that is. And you can see, can you see that? That cute hair? I love that. You can actually see it really well on that angle. I love that. All right, now we're going to, I'm going to talk just a quick little bit about bobbin thread. So what I used was this color bobbin thread when I stitched this out. Now the reason I did that was so that I can easily find it. So you can do it that way, or if you want to stick with white, make sure that you've got the right bobbin thread. This is a 60 weight, this is a 90 weight, depending on which your machine likes. Your quilt shop will know what bobbin thread your machine will like the best. But here's the clue on this one. If you're using the 60 weight and you're not seeing any bobbin stitches, switch to the other weight, the 90 weight. If you have the 90 weight in and you're not seeing the bobbin stitches, you can switch to the 60 weight. The good thing about that is when you're doing these fringe stitches, it really tacks it down so it pulls pretty tight on one side. So when it does that, you're going to want to make sure that you can see those bobbin stitches. All right, since we already trimmed this one, I'm just going to show you quickly. Look how easy that is. And look at those cute little fringes. Look, I just simply use this and kind of scratch the stitches and they pop right up. Isn't that adorable? I just look how this side versus this side. I just think it makes it look like a little chick. I love that. All right, the last method I'm going to show you, and you can see it right here. This is our Main Street Celebration pillow, and as you can see, these are the corn husks. Now, this particular pattern, we have made a stop, so you can actually stitch the husks, and then it will stop, and you can change the bobbin thread so that it tacks it down with the correct stitching. If you were to use, and what I'm going to show you this next trick is water soluble thread. Okay, so if you use water soluble thread and you were to tack this down, you want to use the water soluble where you're going to release. So see this white corn silk? When you're doing the white corn silk, you would put this bobbin, water soluble bobbin, on your machine. Only then. You don't want to be washing your whole project and have everything fall out. So it's only when you're using, or when you're stitching the actual corn silks themselves, when you would use the water soluble. And I'm going to show you, I did stitch one out here. Actually, I had somebody help me with this. They stitched it out, which is I really appreciate that they could do that. So right here, I'm going to show you on this side, she did the water soluble. And so all you do really is, I'm going to turn this over, and you can either paint water on just those specific spots where the corn silks are, or you can apply water. And I'm just going to, this is a great little water, look at that. I love that, mister. That's awesome. All right. And then you just kind of rub the water in, because you've got to dissolve that bobbin stitch, right? And if you don't have it dissolved, it's obviously not going to come off. So you can use spray, or you could even use a paintbrush with water on it if you want. I've done that before too. So let's see if we've got these stitches dissolved where they're raising. Oh, they're starting to raise. A little more water up here at the top. All right, one more second here. We're going to just get that a nice good shot of water. And we just want to make sure those stitches are dissolved. And then when I turn it back over, then you don't have to find any stitches you have to clip. Can you see that? I love this method. Oop. And I'm just scratching those, just the top part. I don't want to, damage my design at all. But look at that, they're lifting with that water. And what I love about the corn silks is they're not super thick. It's not a lot of stitching, but as you can see, that's what a corn silk would look like just as it's coming out of that fresh corn that's right in the field, hasn't quite been picked yet. So I hope that that is helpful, that you were able to try one of these 3 methods today. You're going to absolutely love the different methods. Doesn't matter what you have. If you have the water-soluble thread, great. If not, use a color. If not, you want to use the white, you can use the white, and I would just mark where you're going to be trimming to get those fringe stitches to work for you. Do we have any questions out there?
We had some questions, but you answered them.
Oh, great. Oh, great. Well, if you have any more questions, because if you're like me, I think of the question after it's done or after the show's over. So please, stick around and think of your questions and get those typed in, and we will get those answered as soon as possible. Thank you so much for joining us today. Bye-bye.